Hi everyone. Our next thought for the day looks at Luke chapter 5 verses 1 to 11, Jesus calling his first disciples. I'm going to read that passage now. One day as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, the people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from the shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch." Simon answered, "Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I will let down the nets." When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signalled their partners in the other boats to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man." For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken. And so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on you will fish for people." So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Most of us watching or reading this today will have decided that we're going to follow Jesus' teaching, the way of life he modelled for us and opened for us through his death and resurrection, as have millions before us over the centuries. Today we're looking at the account of those who were the first to make this choice, and hopefully we will see some guidance and perhaps some challenges for our own response. There are 3 things going on in this passage: Jesus teaching the crowds, a miraculous catch of fish, and then Jesus' invitation to the fishermen to be his disciples. But how do they link, and what can we learn from them for our own walk with Jesus, our discipleship? Jesus is embarking on his mission in a way that was like any other rabbi, sharing God's word and teaching people his understanding of how this worked out in their everyday lives. Apart from general teaching, a rabbi gathered around himself a band of followers, disciples, who not only listened to his teaching, but were in close community with him. It was often referred to as walking in the dust of the rabbi, staying so close to him that the dust stirred up by his feet as he walked fell on his disciples. Learning, as they followed, to model their lives on the rabbi's teaching and example, trying to become more like him. So with Jesus, we see him teaching the crowds from God's word, but then calling as his disciples those in whom he discerned a sense of understanding and the possibility of fulfilling all that he had in store for them. Having taught, he engaged Simon and his companions in a fishing trip, revealing to them through the miraculous catch of fish something of his power, his authority over the natural world. This miracle, in an aspect of their lives they knew very well, and going against all their experience and expectations, opened their eyes to the fact that this rabbi was something special, not like all the others. The change of Simon's language from referring to Jesus as Master, suggesting someone they respected in response to his request for them to set out and fish, to Lord, a word associated with God, having seen the catch, shows just how effective this miracle was, and led him to fall at Jesus' feet, suddenly aware of his own sinfulness. But the catch of fish, impressive, unprecedented as it was, paled into insignificance alongside the astounding implication that this had for who Jesus was, who they'd been listening to, and who was speaking now directly to them. Jesus calmed their fears and invited them to come and be his disciples in words that connected with who they were, with their everyday experience. From now on you will fish from people. Their response to this was immediate and wholehearted. They pulled their boats up onto the shore, left everything, the best catch of fish they'd ever seen, the tools of their trade, their means of providing for themselves and their families, and followed him. So what does this teach us about our own discipleship? A few challenges, I guess. Has our response been as wholehearted as this? Have we trusted Jesus so completely that we are prepared to follow wherever he leads, not knowing from the outset where that might take us? Have we been prepared to leave behind all with which we are familiar, our security, the future we had planned? Are we ready for what discipleship might bring, stepping into the future in the dust of our Rabbi, Jesus? I'm not trying to make any of us feel uncomfortable, unworthy, anything like that, just to get us to think about the challenge we have taken on as Jesus' disciples. Remember, he understands. And if we feel less than certain about any of this, remember Simon's response shows just how unworthy he felt, but it didn't stop Jesus choosing and using him. 2 final thoughts. Firstly, remember, being Jesus' disciples is not about us, it's about him. We haven't arrived when we say yes to his call. We are just setting out on a journey to become more like him. Not a bad destination. Secondly, Jesus calls disciples for a purpose. Remember, from now on, you will fish for people. Jesus calls his disciples to follow his teaching, his example, and that is all about calling people into his kingdom. Disciples are called to be disciple makers. Let's be ready to follow Jesus and engage in his great commission to go and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, and doing so in the absolute assurance that, as he promised, I am with you always to the very end of the age. So let's pray. Lord Jesus, we thank you for counting us worthy of being your disciples. Please help us to learn from you, live like you, love like you, to become more like you. Lord, you know our weakness. Take us, fill us, strengthen us, and use us to bring others to you, that they too may know your saving love and power at work in their lives. Amen. And now, as usual, a song for us to listen to, if it helps you as you reflect on our thoughts today. God bless.
It's all about you, Jesus, and all this is for you, for your glory and your fame. It's not about me, as if you should do things my way. You alone are God, and I surrender to your ways. Jesus, lover of my soul, all-consuming fire is in your gaze. Jesus, I want you to know I will follow you all my days. it's all about you. Oh, Jesus, and all this is for you, Lord, for your glory and your fame. And it's not